This week on Previews World Weekly, we finally react to the Rise of Skywalker, discuss San Diego Comic-Con being canceled, and figure out whose moral compass we should follow. Superman or Batman? Not Batman. Captain America. Sorry about that. It's all happening now.
What's up, Previews World? It is Wednesday. It is new comic. Well, you know what? Look, it's not new comic book day. I'm going to say every day is new comic book day in the world of of a pandemic. A matter
Not
of fact,
wrong.
you're right. Yeah. I mean, do you think I've read every single one of these books? I have not. So I'm going to treat every day like it's new comic book day. But welcome to Previews World Weekly. I am one of your hosts, Troy Jeffrey Allen.
I'm your other host, Ashton Greenwood, aka Duchess of Free Comic Book Day. And hang in there, guys. I promise it's coming soon.
It totally is. Yeah, just hang in there, guys. Just hang in there. You know, I appreciate all the people who are following us on social media who are asking questions about when are things happening? How are things happening? You know, just be patient with us. More details are going to come soon. So just hang in there. Actually, funny thing happened to me last night, Ashton. You want to know this one?
Of course.
Well, actually, I guess I should preface. Have you seen The Rise of Skywalker? Because I watched it last night.
Of course. I went to see it in theaters because I'm.
Oh, you did see it in theaters. Okay, all right.
In this Star Wars game.
Okay, gotcha. I don't know why I thought you didn't see it in theaters for some reason. But yeah, look, everybody's binging, right? And so I've been binging a lot of stuff. And then finally, Rise of Skywalker showed up on my feed. And I decided, you know what? Let's get this over with.
Oh, okay.
You and I have talked extensively about this during work hours when we probably should be working.
Right.
You know, I know that we both kind of share the same mindset on these recent Star Wars movies, but I actually didn't get to finish the last 30 minutes of it. So after we watch this, I'm going to watch the last 30 minutes of it. I know. I had to get ready for this show. I had to, but I have to admit, I'm probably experiencing like all the stages of grief right now because I haven't finished it. So yeah, I might have a few meltdowns during the course of the show. I just got to point that out. Actually, interestingly enough, everything I've watched thus far, right, the first 2 hours of the film, it feels the most like Star Wars compared to the last two movies.
Absolutely.
And I think that's more of a tone thing, because one of the things that I didn't like about Force Awakens is it felt too much like it just had J.J. Abrams' stamp all over it. You know what I mean? Like the tone, the flow of it, it felt a lot like the 2009 Star Trek movie to me, to be honest, which she also directed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. See?
Okay.
See? So yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna watch the last 30 minutes. I'm gonna kind of make my own judgment. I don't want to be like most people on the internet and like have a hot take before I've actually like fully experienced everything. But
that's fair.
But throughout the show, I might have some questions because it's all rattling in the back of my brain right now. I will say this much. I've gotten the impression if Rey was supposed to have an arc, right? I got the impression that her arc is that she is fully capable, but a hothead and a bit of a showboat. And I feel like maybe they're underlining that in this movie because there's that bit where she kind of like goes ape, on trees and a bunch of trees and like actually almost like takes out BB-8 and like her anger seems to guide her, which is her anger seems to get in her way of her judgment a lot. And we see that in one key point, spoiler alert, the movie came out several months ago.
Yeah.
We see that her anger really gets the best of her when she almost kills Chewbacca. So I know a lot of people saying like Rey isn't a character. She doesn't have this. She doesn't have that. I feel like watching this movie, I got an impression of an arc coming to an end, but I'll wait until I see the last 30 minutes to make a total judgment on that.
And you know what? When you watch the last 30 minutes, everything you just said is going to make so much more sense and pull together nicely. My hot take on this, apparently this is a hot take I've come to find out, is that I actually liked this one.
Okay.
Which everybody everybody has their issues with all of the three new ones, but I liked it. I felt like exactly like you said, like it was enough of a Star Wars movie for me to walk away feeling satisfied. There's a handful of times in there, and I can't remember when some of these happened, so I'm not going to say anything for your benefit, that I cried a few nerd tears, and that was the experience I wanted from it. I wanted to feel like there was some level of closure to it, and I felt like I got that. I said this before, and you rolled your eyes at me. I felt like Kylo Ren had the best like character arc of anybody. His was the most developed,
Yeah,
and he at least had like an obvious string of emotions and things he was trying to accomplish and fight against. And I felt like Rey didn't as much, and Finn was all over the map.
no, you know what? Actually, this movie, I like this Kylo Ren.
Mm-hmm.
I was not very crazy about The Force Awakens. You know this. I've held the attitude that, and we don't want to get into a tangent too much about this, but I held the attitude that the problem with Last Jedi was The Force Awakens. Like,
Right.
And I say that in terms of like I always kind of felt like they never really had a strategy. They just kind of like dropped a date and like was like, we're going to meet this date, hell or high water. And so The Last Jedi tried to make sense of it, but also try to give Rian Johnson the opportunity to be an auteur. And so I don't necessarily blame The Last Jedi. I kind of blame Force Awakens. That's me personally. That's just how I feel about it.
And I vehemently feel the opposite.
I know you do. And you know what? I totally sympathize with people who feel that way, because ultimately, not my favorite Star Wars. I'll put it like that. Anyway, things going on in the world, right? Oh, what's this? Fully capable. Okay, W. Devine. What does W. Devine say here? Fully capable hotshot showboat. Sounds a lot like the lead characters of the last two trilogies. Exactly.
Valid.
No, right. No, and I actually agree with that. And that's one of the things that like I took away from this movie. It was like, okay, some of this stuff is just full circle. Some of it's a little fan servicey, and I'm not always crazy about that. But I also understand why you would do that. I mean, look, Avengers Endgame was fan service, and I ate that up. I was in fat kid heaven when I watched that movie. So, anyway, all right. So enough about Rise of Skywalker from now. I'm sure I'll have a meltdown at the 30-minute mark of this show, but
can't wait.
But look, a lot of things have been going on in the world, of course, because of the coronavirus, and so a lot of things are being put on hold. And one of them actually ended up being San Diego Comic-Con. So, it's weird. I feel like the, COVID-19 likes to stick it in and break it. I probably shouldn't have said that. Just really likes to just dig in there. And for the first time in 50 years, there's not going to be a San Diego Comic-Con. It also means that there's not going to be a WonderCon this year. Everything's getting pushed back to 2021. And also, actually, apparently they were doing, I actually heard about this, but I actually forgot about this over the course of a year. But apparently they were doing a Comic-Con museum, and that's also being put on hold. But that was apparently scheduled for 2021. So I guess now it's being pushed back to 2022 because they have to make this museum happen. The cool thing is, if you want to, you can refund or transfer your tickets. Ashton, you a little sad about San Diego Comic-Con? I know we've done it the last 2 years, 3 years? 2 years.
Yeah, 2, yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I can't, it feels like there's a void, right? And the nerd, the selfish part of me is like, I was really hoping that like Dune would drop their first trailer at San Diego Comic-Con, so now I'm worried about that.
Yeah.
We all love, and it's just super fun to like go and nerd out with everybody. And a lot of the cons are canceled for the time being, so sucks all the way around.
Yeah, no, it does. It's I was reading too that they're going to. I actually kind of think this is a little bootleg, but that's just me. That they're going to cancel hotel reservations, so you got to book your hotel all over again, which can sometimes be as difficult.
Yeah.
But yeah, apparently, I mean, I get it. This is everything's so unprecedented about all this. So I and they have to do what's safe for everybody, just like we have to do what's safe for everybody. So it's just one of those things. I like the idea that Rey was nobody. I just got to point that out. And I kind of don't like that they went back on that. Sorry, I just kind of like dovetailed and something.
Like, is this related to Comic-Con?
Sorry, this isn't about Comic-Con. I'm just, I'm having a moment right now. Anyway, more things going on in the world of comics. Creators for Comics and Line Forge Fund. So if you are interested in supporting your local comic shop, by all means, there are opportunities. Creator for Comics is an auction that a lot of creators have jumped into. They're giving away artwork. They're giving away process sketches, not just art comic shops. Also, this was announced late last year, which is Line Forge's Forge Fund. But that's another opportunity for people to do their part and support their local comic shops. So yeah, if you're interested in doing your part, I definitely am. definitely go ahead and check out Creator 4 Comics and the line Forge Fund, because shops need help needs help right. Yeah, I can't talk. Need help right now. So there you go. Way to stick that landing, Troy. All right.
You did your best.
I did my best. Have you caught anything, any charitable, interesting things going on in the world of comics over the last couple of weeks, Ashton?
I know that CBLDF has got a lot of different things going on for shop owners.
Yeah.
We've been doing our best to share that on the Diamond, like the official Diamond pages. So they're trying to do a number of things to help shop owners and creators.
Mm-hmm. Okay, no, good. And I mean, everybody's invested in stores, and I mean, like I've said this numerous times on other people's podcasts. I've said this on this show. Comics are community centers. They are clubhouses. This is the place you go where everybody knows your name. And I know I'm dating myself by saying that, but whatever. Yeah, and it's you know, especially with something like Comic Cons. Comic Cons are already kind of spread out, right? Like how many Comic Cons does the average person go to a year? So the shops kind of created that Comic Con experience for you. You know, you got that sense of community when you couldn't go to these shows, and you got that sense of community on a regular. And so, you know, show your support, show your love, and actually, you want to do a little support your LCS shout out for us, Ashton, real quick, just so people can jump in there.
Of course.
Yeah.
So we want to give. I got it from you, Troy. Now I can't talk either.
Sorry.
We want to give your friendly local comic shop a shout out and highlight what it is they're doing during the quarantine to help you get your comic books and just the ways that they're kind of staying active and staying involved. So find us on social media, on PREVIEWSworld or Free Comic Book Day, and tag your shop, and then also use the hashtag support your LCS, and we will find your comments wherever they land, and we will highlight your shops because we love them and we want to make sure everybody else knows what's up with them.
There you go. Absolutely. All right. So how about some comics and quarantine talk?
Yes.
You want to get into some what we're binging right now?
Absolutely.
All right. Let's do it. So, you know, binging is the name of the game right now, ain't it?
It is.
It really is. Like I went on a tirade like on Friday's shop talk, comic talk show where I was like, yeah, I'm watching Avatar and I'm watching Killing Eve. And actually, you know what? The main character in Killing Eve is actually Rey's mom in the Force Awakens. I'm sorry, in Rise of Skywalker. Just something I noticed. Yeah, not Sandra Oh, the other character.
Got it.
But yeah, so yeah, binging is the name of the game. Matter of fact, I saw something really interesting yesterday. Apparently, Netflix is valued more than ExxonMobil right now because people aren't driving; people are just watching stuff, which I think is actually pretty amusing. But are you like? So, of course, we're going to talk about the comics we're binging. But are you binging anything else like? Or what other things in general are you binging? You can mention comics in there too.
Yeah, so like I said on Comic Talk, I wanted to say Shop Talk like you did. I've watched all of Katie Keene. Nice. I mean, I think it's still on air, so there's new episodes coming out like the day after or whenever. So I think I have a new episode of that. I'm obsessed with that show. Like I seriously am obsessed. Like I need to stop. Also Riverdale's back, so that's exciting. Can't wait for that. Do you know what? There's a show on Netflix that a friend suggested that I haven't even started watching. I've only watched the trailer, but I'm beyond excited for it. It's called Outer Banks, and it's about these group of kids that like live in the Outer Banks and are kind of just like beach bums, and they go on this like wild goose chase for some buried treasure or like sunken treasure rather, from one of like the main character's father was like a sailorman, but it also kind of sounds like he was a pirate, which feels weird because it's based in the modern day, so I'm not quite sure how that's going to pan out, but I'm interested.
Yeah, actually, Johnny just said in the chat, sounds like the Goonies. I was just thinking that, Johnny. I was legit just thinking, I was like, this sounds like the Goonies. Okay, I might have to check that out. Yeah, I mean, I'm in the same boat. I actually need to kind of maybe chill out with some of my binging because I'm kind of jumping all over the place right now. I think Ming Chen said that last week when we did this show. He's like, you're watching a lot. I was like, I know. This is why I hate watching TV because then I get into these rabbit holes that I can't get out. That said, yeah, Avatar and Killing Eve are the two best things that I'm watching right now. What are you reading right now? I know you're reading Dune. Can you give us a Dune update? How's that experience been for you?
It's been great. So I'm almost finished. I have like just under 200 pages left. So the book's broken up into 3 chunks, and it's like a Dune, Prophet, and or Dune, Muad'Dib, and Prophet. And so basically like follows like them moving from Paladin to Arrakis is the first chunk. The middle chunk is like the Harkonnens coming and taking over Arrakis, and like Paul going to be with the Freeman, and then the third chunk is him realizing, or not like realizing, but acting on him being the Messiah and being the Kwisatz Haderach and bringing, unfortunately, the jihad that he's been trying desperately to avoid. I didn't know, however, that there's like a 2-year time jump between the time he finds out that he's the Kwisatz Haderach and starts living with the Freeman and the time that like the jihad actually takes place. So that was shocking.
Interesting. All right. Yeah. Okay. No, so well, actually, Johnny's saying, oh yeah, no, we should. So actually, if you are actually doing, use hashtag comics in quarantine if you're in the chat and let us know what you are actively reading and watching right now. Because yeah, we're curious. We need some suggestions, right? We all need suggestions right now for what we should like check out. I'm actually in the middle of. I was about to do an article about this, and then kind of everything got put on pause, but. This is Wizard, the comics magazine. Now, I don't know if you remember. I'm definitely older than you, Ashton. So you might not remember Wizard magazine, but if you were a child in the '90s, if you were a teenager in the '90s, then Wizard magazine was your Bible, and it literally like it dropped during probably one of the actually the biggest, maybe one of the biggest times in comic books for like just business wise in terms of like financially. There was just a huge boom. It was the big wave of Image Comics, like all the hot Image artists were coming from Marvel. And Wizard kind of kept you abreast of those situations before the internet. Like, it was very much a fan-focused experience. And so it just so happens that a bunch of creators got together and did Wizard, the magazine, because I guess they don't want to get sued because Wizard's still a thing. They run conventions. But it's Wizard with an E. But it basically is meant to encompass that old school 90s experience that Wizard was. So it has plenty of cool stuff. It's got interviews with actually Ed Piskor and Jim Rugg from Cartoonist Kayfabe, which is another YouTube channel I suggest to everybody they should check out because they do great content. They also have what else? Comics in here actually, and there's just tons of cool stuff. I don't know if you can see all the stuff in here, but yeah, like just tons of cool stuff. And there's a Jackie Chan art. There's a Jackie Chan art gallery for some reason, which. I don't know why it's in here because I haven't gotten that far in the book, but I love Jackie Chan. You don't need a reason. I don't need to be a reason. I really don't. I absolutely do not. Like Jackie Chan to me is one of the greatest human beings in the world. But yeah, so that's been my reading actually this week. Like I was actually fortunate enough that the editor of the book was like, he's like, we did this thing. It's a fanzine basically. Do you want to check it out? And I was like, yeah. And then he sent me this book, like, which is, this is a big boy too. It's actually bigger than a normal magazine. Oh, wow. But he sent me the entire book, and yeah, it's cool. Like, it takes me back a while. Like, it takes me back to being a kid in the '90s and going to my local comic shop and picking up Wizard magazine and a couple of comics. And I always had to get a little bit extra money for Wizard because the mentality at the time was, well, if I got Wizard, I was getting more comics somehow. Right. So I used to skip my lunch money and just go to the local comic shop over at the mall, and yeah, I would buy a copy of Wizard, and it's cool. It's 248 pages. If you get a chance, check it out. Look it up online. It's from Cosmic Lion Comics, and it's called Wizard with an E, the comics magazine, and yeah, it actually came together thanks to a bunch of guys on a Facebook group that is a Cartoonist Kayfabe Facebook group. So, what comics are you into right now? What have you been wading through?
I've gone back through like all of the Riverdale. Oh my God, I'm dropping them. It's not working. It's not working.
we see it though. We can see
all
it.
Of the Riverdale. My hands are too little for this. All of the Riverdale trades, because the show it was on like a brief hiatus and it just came back last week. Okay. So I've been diving back into these, and the thing that I like about these is so they are considered canon within the show.
Within the show. Okay, nice.
So, and the thing they accomplish is they basically fill in the gaps between the episodes. So anything that happens between them. And the other thing they do that I think is really important is they highlight some of the like secondary characters or some of the minor characters, and they fill out, everybody, including the core four, but they fills out everybody's story arc, and it makes the characters feel a little more developed. They do it a lot with Reggie and Josie before she left to go on Katie Keene. But the cool thing is they later in, I want to say it was like late in season 3, they started kind of unpacking Reggie's relationship with his father. His father's alcoholic and also abusive, which is, not great. But it's something that they started touching on in like the first 2 or 3 issues of these comics. So it was cool to kind of see those two things merge.
Nice. So it springboarded from the comics and then went into the TV show.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, yeah. Like is it Roberto? I can never say his name. Roberto Aguirre Acosta, who's writing these, the showrunner. He's writing the comics too.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that sort of like link is actually pretty great. That's actually really cool that he's able to be a showrunner and do this comic at the same time. Right. I know he's done other Archie. He did Archie, like a couple Archie books in the past too. He's done
a lot of Archie stuff.
Yeah, he was fully committed to it actually. Like I think you and I showed you that YouTube video actually about the history of Archie comics, and one of the things they pointed out is he actually did a play in the 80s that the people who were running Archie in the 80s sued him. I think they sued over at the time because it was like there was some sexual component to it. I can't remember what it was to the play, and they weren't happy about that. And like they were trying to keep Archie's image pure.
Okay, but like Riverdale has completely blown that out of the water. Like we talked about this before. Like they're just having sex left, right, and center. Like no high schooler is doing it as much as Archie and Veronica.
You're right. Well, I see. Actually, here you want a good laugh. If you want a really good laugh, go on YouTube and look up the Riverdale. I think it's Back to Riverdale or Welcome Back to Riverdale. It's a movie. It was a 2-hour movie. It was a TV movie that was released in the early 90s. And interestingly enough, there's a lot of hanky-panky on that show as well, but it's about the Archie crew when they grew up. It's cringeworthy. It's like I don't think I'm doing Archie a disservice when I say that it's a cringeworthy experience. But I remember watching that as a kid, and I was like, "Whoa, this is Archie!" Like I felt betrayed.
Johnny just commented in the chat. He's like, "Wait, that movie was terrible."
It was not good. There's a bit in there where Jughead raps. It's awful.
No, Jughead is very white. He should not.
So yeah, I just want to put that out. Do we have anything else in the chat? Anybody? Any comments in the chat? Yes, I got a few old Wizard magazines as well, John Carlos. Absolutely. Like I cherished them. I actually had an old X-Men special that I wish I had held on to. It was like just them unpacking everything great about the X-Men from the 90s, and like I just love that stuff. Also, speaking of comics in quarantine, right? Some interesting things that I also noticed this past week. Matt Cave and Gerard Way both released free digital coloring books. And it's literally because of the quarantine. I guess the thing I love about this whole thing. There's a lot of bad things happening right now in the world, right? Of course, but one of the cool things is that it's forcing creative people to get even more creative because now channels are kind of their outlets are being closed off for any number of safety reasons. And so Gerard Way released a quarantine coloring book, and Mad Cave also released a Mad Cave coloring book, and it's free to purchase. Just go to their websites and check it out. Actually, if you go to PREVIEWSworld.com, go to latest news, you'll see links for both of those things. And adult coloring books were kind of all the rage a few years ago, and they're probably making a comeback right now because you got to pass the time somehow, I think, I kind of feel like Poe Dameron's all of us during the course of this trilogy, Ashton.
I love Poe Dameron.
He's just irritable, and he kind of just hates everybody's solutions for everything during the course of 3 movies.
Right.
And I kind of feel like Poe Dameron represents a lot of fans right now. Like, I feel like you said Kylo has like an arc. I think Poe has an arc during the course of these 3 movies.
My problem with Poe's arc, though, is he's just for no reason at all, universally absent in The Last Jedi. Like, he might as well not be there. He shows up for half a second to fight with Laura Dern about whatever it was, and then you don't see him again until the end, and then he shows up in the 3rd one, and him and Finn and Rey mysteriously are just the 3 Musketeers, the best of friends.
Yeah. They
haven't seen him in God knows how long, and they're just suddenly best friends. That felt really cool. I loved it. I'm here for a bromance. I was here for the Poe Finn thing, but it felt a little forced.
Actually, if I could speak to that, I actually like I like seeing healthy male relationships in movies. Like that's
Yes.
just like that's the thing that like I think like I know that people want them to be shipped together and all this other stuff, but
Mhm.
I think there is value in seeing two male characters being like having a healthy dynamic with each other. I think that that also serves a great purpose, and that was one of the things I latched onto in the movies. I was like, oh, cool, they're like buddies. That's cool. I like that.
They're
But
buddies that everybody like aggressively shipping.
right, aggressively shipping, right. Like the Captain American Bucky thing. I'm like, okay, I guess, sure, why not?
If I find you some fan art of Poe and Finn, will you look at it at least?
I've seen it.
Okay.
I have a Pinterest account. I have seen was it Poe and fanfic, and I've seen Bucky and Cap fanfic, and quite honestly, it's up there with furries. I just can't get down with it.
It's
Sorry.
out there. It is out there.
No disrespect to the people that do like it. I just I'm an old man. What do you want from me? Anyway, any more things in the chat? Anybody talking about what they're reading this week? Anything interesting going on down there, Johnny? Maybe yes, no, maybe so.
Nope.
Okay, that's fine. Oh, I should point out that we are doing the show earlier than normal, so I apologize to some of you guys. Unfortunately, there are mitigating circumstances that are forcing us to do this earlier than normal, but we'll be back at the normal time next week. Fingers crossed. How about some asinine arguments with Ashton?
I'm always ready.
All right, I knew you would be. Let's do it. Cool. So yes, asinine arguments with Ashton time. What is this week's asinine argument, Ashton?
So, first of all, I'd like to point out I'm wearing this like Jughead sweatshirt
Team
thing.
Jughead.
Right. So I felt like that could not go unnoticed. A few weeks ago, we were talking about Superman and Captain America, which I totally muffed in the teaser because Superman and Batman like go together in my brain. Anyway, we were talking about Superman.
No more shipping, Ashton.
Okay, because I'm the only one that's ever.
Sorry, go ahead.
I do love a good ship, though. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Need to get off of fanfiction.net. Continuing on. I've entirely derailed myself. Superman and Captain America. Got it. There we go. Okay. We were talking about them 2 or 3 weeks ago on PREVIEWSworld Weekly, and we kind of touched on like who we thought was the better moral compass, or like whose moral compass you felt was more aligned with yourself and your notions of justice. So we took that to you guys, to the masses, and we ran a poll on the Free Comic Book Day page, and we did one on Facebook and a separate one on Twitter. And so I guess we'll jump into some of the responses, and it's actually kind of shocking the way this panned out. So firstly, Danny Gammon Jr. said, I always go with Cap for one simple reason. In the original Secret Wars series, Thor says he is the only mortal he would follow into battle. Superman was sent to Earth because he would have powers by Jor-El, Cap earned his powers by always trying to stand up for what was right, even when the world told him he was too scrawny and sick to make a difference.
Nice.
Well thought out, too.
Yeah, very well thought out.
Rob Taylor said, love Superman, but being invulnerable and being a bit less susceptible to risk makes it much easier to always do the right thing.
I like that, actually. I think that's actually a very good point.
I actually disagree with that.
Oh, really? Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I think if you're invulnerable and you have virtually nothing to lose, there's no motivation to do the right thing. You could do whatever you wanted to do. You could be
That's a good point.
Joker.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. As a matter of fact, there's a Marvel book called Squadron Supreme, or Supreme Power, that has a Superman prototype, and he's allowed to do anything he wants to, and he figures that out pretty quickly, and it's terrifying. So, so you got a great point there. You know what? I take it back what I said.
Okay, continuing on from Cody Edwards, he says Cap, without question, Cap, and he is sporting an insane tattoo.
Yeah, nice. I like that.
And then Fred Blunden said, why not both? Valid point.
Fair.
Why pick an answer when you cannot pick one? Then
you should get into politics.
Well, that has a lot to do with this next comment. Johnny, where's the comment? Okay, I guess we're gonna skip Richie's comment, which was important though, because he said something like, "Dang, Americans can't always following a two-party system, even in comics."
Oh.
Sorry, found it.
Okay, thank you, John.
Sorry, Richie.
I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. Okay, or a 6-foot pole. Kid, not touch it with a 6-foot pole to keep to be topical. There you go.
Appropriate social distance.
Was that the last one?
That was the last comment, but I want to look at the polls really quick before you and I share our opinions, because it's really interesting that there was absolutely opposite reactions on each platform. Okay. On Facebook, Cap was the runaway. I don't want to say runaway, but he was easily the majority, took the majority of the votes, 60% Cap, 40% Superman. Okay. But on Twitter, Superman was the favorite.
Wow, okay.
Right?
Interesting. Okay, all right. Huh. Actually, I guess, we both work in social media. We talk a lot about demographics, right? And how every demographic is different based on platform. Yeah. I feel like there's something there. Like, I don't know what it is. But the Twitter crowd versus like the Facebook crowd, I think there's something there. I don't know what it is, but I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts on this one? I want to be Switzerland on this because I love both characters for different reasons, but I have some thoughts. What do you think?
Yeah, I've made a grave mistake in like picking an argument that I don't actually have an answer for.
I mean, that's interesting though. Now it's not an argument. It's philosophical now.
Right.
There you go.
Unpack it. Like there's like a weird patriotic part of me that feels compelled to pick Cap.
Right.
Because I think there has something to do with like his association with like American ideals and the way that matches up with like notions of justice or like ultimately doing the right thing. Right. It feels like there's some sort of connection there that it makes sense.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I kind of feel like I want to pick Superman just because like he is like for the most part invulnerable, banning swords, magic, or whatever. I will never be over that, Troy.
Okay, that's fair.
There's something about Superman being invulnerable and being from not Earth, like he's an off-world hero, that feels like there's something that's more genuine, I think, for lack of a better word. Like he doesn't have to come to Earth. He did. He doesn't have to protect the people that are here. He doesn't have to make the right decisions, but he does, and those are all choices. And I get Cap is making choices too, but I think Cap's I don't know, because Cap's a person, so then it's like his own morality versus like the morality of like a legitimate hero, demigod. I don't know that I can appropriately articulate in a way that doesn't make me sound uninformed, but I think I would pick Superman.
Okay, no, I get that. I think something could be said for like, I know a lot of people made the argument. Actually, I should point out, whose moral compass do you relate to more, Superman or Captain America? Give us a one-word answer, or give us just name the hero and like let us know in the comments. People have long said, long made allusions that Superman is either Moses or he's the story of immigration in America. I've heard that quite a few times. Even and I guess more recently, people have also said he's Jesus Christ, right?
Right.
I actually think that the immigration angle is actually fairly more interesting to me personally. Not because I'm an immigrant, I was actually born in this country, but I think that his outsider perspective gives him a unique advantage on the world. And I think a lot of writers over the years have actually leaned into that. Just has a more expansive view of things. And I think that we've seen repeatedly that Captain America, even when he thinks he's doing the right thing, can kind of be a bit bullheaded in his approach,
right.
Which I actually think makes him a fascinating character. I remember, not to make this about the movies necessarily, but I remember walking out of Civil War, and the girl that I was dating at the time, she was just like, "Well, Captain America's a jerk." Like,
hot take.
I mean, like, firmly, like, she was just like, he's just a jerk, and Tony Stark was right. And I remember saying, like, no, I think that like actually what's happening here is that he's stuck in between like a political argument and a personal argument. and that he's trying to protect his friend, but he's also looking at a political landscape that does not favor him.
Right.
And I find that compelling. And like you mentioned that there's no real answer here. I think that I think that Civil War actually doesn't get enough credit for waxing philosophical, as much as
Right.
one can in a 2-hour Marvel movie about these concepts. Like, I like the idea that there was no straightforward yes or no answer to that conflict.
Mhm.
And I think that Steve was neither right nor wrong. I think Tony Stark was neither right nor wrong.
Right.
And I think that that's kind of the interesting thing about Captain America. And I actually believe that maybe Ta-Nehisi Coates gets into some of this with his current Captain America run, whereas that I feel like Captain America can be incapable of seeing areas of gray until he's forced to see an area of gray. And I think
Right.
Superman historically has always come from the approach of less about right or wrong, but he's always been a little bit more of a I know this is a hot word right now, but I feel like Superman has always been more of a centrist. Like, he's always kind of trying to find the
Mm.
neutral option, and Captain America's either going to
Right.
swing hard right or hard left.
Right. No, that's a great point that I didn't even think of. Like, there's absolutely something to be said about dealing in absolutes on both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
And that makes it a little harder to find an answer that is appropriate for everybody. That's a great point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where I was going with that, but I liked that comment.
I like where you went with that. You agreed with me. I'm gonna take that. Looks like we have another comment. What is this one, Ashton?
Ooh, John Carlos, welcome. He says, I have to go, Cap. Standout moments like Daredevil Born, I'm only loyal to the dream. Cap stands for what America should be, or the promise of America, whereas Superman stands for what America is.
Oh, interesting. I don't know if I agree with that. Like, I don't know. That's interesting. Like, I think Superman is also a patriotic character, and I think, like, definitely during the golden age, like, the creators leaned into that quite a bit. There's been an attempt to kind of distance him from that and make him more of a universal figure, which he already was. Like, I mean, everybody in the world knows who Superman is.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, Captain America's name is Captain America. Like, there's no getting around. It's interesting because I think the thing that irritated people the most about the Man of Steel movie, he was more bullheaded in that movie. Like, you know what I mean? And I think that a lot of what people miss about why people get upset about that is that we've been told for so long that Superman will always find a solution that works, and to kind of see him making poor choices, I mean, depending on how you look at it, I think always kind of was like very jarring for people. I know it certainly was for me. So I don't know. I don't know. I just find that interesting. We got another viewer response, Ashton.
Yeah. Oh, from Josh. Inflammatory hot take.
Come on, Josh.
That was my least favorite Avenger. Sorry. I feel like that's a sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, it's definitely a sorry, not sorry. He forgot to put the not sorry at the end. No, it took me a while to get favorites. He's actually definitely my favorite in the movies for sure.
Right.
So yeah. Like, I don't know. It's an interesting debate, and like I think we initially started this conversation off with just kind of fan casting, saying like, what if Steve Rock and like almost like they walked into a cosmic bar and the bar did, and God said, which direction should things go, and like they have to decide. I think that's a great comic book. I'd much rather see them talk about that than actually fight each other, because we know Superman would kill Captain America. Oh, well, Superman does not kill, but you understand what I mean. But yeah, I don't know. I prefer a human in this situation as opposed to I understand everybody's point, so I'll just leave it at that. Moving on. I mean, was there anything else you want to say about this before we move on? Actually, before I jump into something else.
No, I think interestingly though, that the fact that Cap is a human and he is, like you said, stubborn and making decisions based on his own moral compass, I think probably makes him a little more fallible than Superman. So in terms of like making a decision that is maybe like more broad-based or kind of like less up for debate in some ways, Superman might make more sense there. I feel like I'm convinced.
I mean, I think that on some level I'm leaning on Superman, but like, yeah, I get it. I totally understand what you mean. So that's almost it for us this week. But it is time for Comic Shop shout out. Like I know a lot of, I saw someone say that 85% of stores are closed. I saw that online somewhere, which
Crazy.
I mean, that might be about right. But I think it still is in our best interest to shout out comic book stores. So if you have a comic shop that you favor, that you love, let us know in the comments what it is, and we'll give it a shout out here on the show. And also look for a prompt on for Comic Shop shout out. But what is this week's Comic Shop shout out?
This week's comic shop shout out goes to Heroes World. Heroes World from Jessica Archer, and they're in Markham, Ontario. We've had a couple from Canada in the past few weeks.
Yeah, we have actually. And they're facing the same situation we're facing. So shout out to them. I guess that's it for this week. I want to remind people to join us for game night, which is now every Tuesday and Thursday. Ashton and I have participated. So has Cannondall X, aka Natasha. Anna Mia has been on there. Josh, who has poor taste in Avengers, has been on there. Johnny has joined us. Johnny actually hosts this and does a great job with it. Thank you, Johnny, as always.
Hey, Johnny.
And thanks for joining us this week. Oh, and also I should give a few more shout outs to some of the other things we're doing, because yes, the PREVIEWSworld website is not being updated regularly, but it's being updated semi-regularly, but we are still dropping video content. We just dropped a Garth Ennis interview, the last part of a 3-part Garth Ennis interview, which seems to be very popular with people, which I'm very grateful for, because that was a huge get for me personally. Where he just talks about his career. It's done in 3 parts, and that went up on our YouTube and our Facebook and our Instagram on Friday. So definitely check that out and check out all 3 parts. And also, we have been doing something different with the panel. We're doing a show called The Panel Presents Comic Talk. And last week we did have Ming Chen on the show, and we asked him all sorts of questions like, what was his first comic book? Why are comic shops important to him? Because of course he runs, he's behind Dan Silent Bob's Secret Stash in New Jersey. He's also been on Comic Book Men. So stay tuned. I think we're gonna have another special guest this week. We haven't revealed who just yet, but keep an eye on our feed at PREVIEWSworld to find out who that guest is going to be. And we'll be back to the regular time next week. We'll be back to 4:00, unless we're not, but I think we should be back regular time.
What a good club. We'll be back regular time, except maybe not. I don't know.
So everything's so unpredictable right now. Hopefully before we run away.
Before we run away, I'm gonna make more coffee after this.
Okay, fair enough.
My main thing I'm trying to get people to know, because I keep getting like DMs about Free Comic Book Day and people asking if it's canceled. I had some people ask if it's still happening, because it's in about a week and a half at this point, almost 2 weeks. Like, it's not happening on May 2nd, which is terrible news, but it's for the best. It is happening. I promise. The books are already printed. We want to give them to you. So in the same way, you should stay tuned to PREVIEWSworld for other announcements. Stay tuned to Free Comic Book Day on all of the social channels and websites. When we pick a new date, we will let you know there. I will let you know here in the show. So keep an ear out, keep an eye out.
Awesome. And actually, Johnny's telling us we got one more comic shop shout out. What is this, Ashton?
Ooh, it is from, what her last name? Scott. And his shout out is Comics and Collectibles in Minnesota. They've been having people calling in and doing drive-up pickup, as well as short videos of the Clark's home collections to keep everyone connected. I love that.
I absolutely love that. Yeah, like a lot of comic shops doing something different, or doing different things to kind of stay afloat during this period. Of course, we did mention some of the charitable acts that some creators and other organizations are doing to help comic shops stay afloat. And yeah, if your store is doing anything interesting and different and fun, by all means, let us know. We'll give them a shout out on the show. I guess that's it for PREVIEWSworld Weekly. And Ashton, I feel like when you do a franchise, you're kind of in an agreement with the audience, which is that we have a plan from beginning to end. You might not, and I'm not going to sit here and say that George Lucas had a absolute plan, because he did not, but he had an idea. You know what I mean? When Kevin Feige says he has the MCU, he has an idea of where he's going with it. And so he's not going to budge on certain things because he has an end goal, right? And I just kind of feel like maybe, that's the only agreement you have with a producer of a film or any type of franchise, is just like, I have a plan, trust me. And I always want to uphold that trust as much as humanly possible. And I'm gonna go watch the last 30 minutes of this.
I would like to say, if you think that there's a franchises have to be well thought out to be successful, you've obviously never seen a Fast and Furious movie.
Well, this is also true. I love the Fast and Furious movie. So what do I
just
know?
watched for the first time. I watched The Fate of the Furious, which is the one with like Charlize Theron and.
Right.
I was so lost the whole time. Stop, and she's like shooting missiles from underneath a frozen lake. It makes no sense.
Right. I made a comment the other day, like a few months back, that the like what was it? Is that characters that come back from the dead, a ragtag group of misfits who are pursued by the law, and a bald guy as their leader. The Fast and the Furious crew are the X-Men. That's what they are now.
Oh wow!
They aren't car thieves. They're the X-Men now. So there you go.
I'm okay with that.
There you go. Anyway, that's it for PREVIEWSworld Weekly. I'm one of your hosts, Troy Jeffrey Allen.
I'm your other host, Ashton Greenwood.
And we will see you guys. Can we get the spinner rack? The spinner rack's over here. I'm looking the wrong direction. We'll see you at the spinner rack. Some way, somehow, we'll see you at the spinner rack. Catch you later.